Welcome back to the TrailBLAZER pod. I'm your host Faye, and each week I bring you stories of Jewish women who are paving bold paths. This week's guest is Rachel Lebowitz. In this episode, we explore the ongoing journey of self-discovery and what it truly means to embrace every side of who we are. Together, we unpack the pressures women face, the power of vulnerability, and how small, intentional shifts can spark lasting transformation. It's a conversation about confidence, healing, and redefining roles without losing our values. Let's dive in. Rachel, welcome to the TrailBLAZER pod. Thanks so much for being here. How are you?
Thank you for having me, Faye. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited too, and I'm gonna be very honest with everybody because we're talking a lot about vulnerability, and it's hard for me to be vulnerable and say I make mistakes, but you and I previously recorded an episode months ago, probably was it November or something? It was one of my first episodes, and I was so excited to talk to you. I found you on LinkedIn, and then my internet kept breaking, and we had 7 different sections of the episode, and I couldn't manage to edit it. Maybe at this point I would be able to, and I was I was so down on myself, and I kept pushing off okay, I'm gonna try and edit it, and then at some point I listened to somebody else say on a different podcast, just take accountability, just say I messed up or I wasn't able to do this. And so I reached out to you and I said, I'm so sorry, I've been MIA. I couldn't figure out your episode. And you're like, okay, let's re-record. And so I really want to thank you for being so gracious with that. It really helped me just be honest with people. People, sometimes fall short, sometimes technology falls short, and it's not a personal thing. So before we start, I just want to literally say thank you so much. It just taught me a lot, and I also really appreciate your graciousness.
Thank you. My pleasure. I love being gracious. I think there's something so beautiful about being honest and owning up to our shortcomings. I believe it makes life easier, not more painful. People think it's painful to say I'm sorry. Yeah. I think it's more painful to try not to say I'm sorry and keep defending ourselves.
Yeah.
And I sometimes wonder, am I doing a cop-out by right away saying, okay, I'm sorry?
Oh, wow. Okay, I never thought of it like that. But it's almost people say it's so much harder to lie because then you have to remember the lie and you have to remember what you said and not to mess up the story. And it's so much easier to say the truth. But I feel like it's just, I think for women also, sometimes when you're trying to portray this image of I got it together, I know what I'm doing, but then you really don't. It's how do I just put that out? It's very scary. It's almost I'm showing you a part of myself that I don't want to show. And I mean, I'm embarrassed to say it took me months to even admit myself I can't make this happen,
But I didn't even notice. I was just cool.
You're just living life.
I was living life, and I think it's so telling. I think if we can go a little bit deeper, it's here's this one person that thinks they did this big thing, and here's the other person, they're they totally didn't get it, or the opposite. This one person that feels very offended, and the friend has no idea that they were offended. And so that's lesson number 1 for me. Lesson number 2 is, as I heard myself saying, I love to be the one to always self-accountable. There's a red line. What I'm leaning more and more into life is that all our strengths, it's on a spectrum, and then there's a red line where our strength turns into a weakness. And so as women, both ways, okay? And we spoke about both ways. Way number 1 is the woman that fawns right away, and she's right away, people pleasing, right? When it's too much people pleasing, a problem. And this also shows up with people sharing too much vulnerability. I did a short boundaries live on Instagram where I spoke about how do we decide who to share with what information in an authentic way. And I share on Instagram, but I don't overshare. And sometimes I have women reach out and say, what was your trauma that you feel like that? And I'm if I would want to say it, I would say it. Right? Okay. And
so the line for you is I'll share what I learned from this, but I won't tell you exactly what happened.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And
makes sense.
Because I'm sharing with a purpose of being, a light and showing people what it could look like in the messy middle and what the evolution could look like. I'm not a fan of showing up after and saying, oh, this was my life 10 years ago. No, it's ongoing. It's always happening. There's always happening. And then the other side is the woman that wants to look perfectly polished and can't admit. And actually, I believe anybody being able to admit a shortcoming is the most beautiful, like attractive thing you can do for men
Yeah.
and women. And
Yeah.
actually, if you're a woman that's working with a lot of males in business, having that fine line of not being, sometimes women want to like show off in the covert way. So with their victim mode, or with, oh, poor me, save me, damsel in distress,
Right.
or I'm perfectly polished. And
Right.
then being able to find that balance of like, look, I've experienced, you're not going to talk down to me because, I'm noticing more and more how men sometimes treat women in business where like, I just had a client that a man told her, oh, you're charging so much money because you have an expensive lifestyle to upkeep. And a guy would never say that to another guy,
Wow.
right?
Yeah.
So the fawning response would be not to say anything at all.
Mm-hmm.
The very aggressive response where women have gotten, you know, called things that I don't want to call names, but
Yeah.
like, is
Yeah.
you dare talk to me like this? I'm a woman, blah, blah, blah. And
Yeah.
that balance place is to use female energy. What we have, our strength, is discernment and intuition. It's being able to come in just at the right time and turn it around where the other person doesn't even realize it gets turned around. And
Wow.
so this client, I coached her to pause and say, you know, can you help me understand? I'm not even sure why we're having this conversation. It seems like you don't want to be doing business with me. You feel my
Mm-hmm.
prices aren't right for you. Help me understand why I'm here.
Wow.
And what
It
that
seems so simple, but it's, yeah.
yeah, but what that creates is a mirror in a non-defensive way. And the
Yeah.
other person actually has to shape up and like sit up and say, wait, why am I here? What do I really want? And then according to a level of how healthy they are, they say, well, I really want to work with you, but here's my objection, or this is what I'm
Mm-hmm.
feeling. It uncovers the real objection.
Right. So let me ask you your opinion on something because I'm a co-founder of a fintech startup, and so obviously very male-dominated industry, and I work with a lot of men. And I find myself like when I'm in meetings, high-level meetings, like direction of the company, strategy, I'm very, very strong. Like I know the company, I'm living, breathing it, right? And not aggressive, I'm just very strong, like in my opinions. And then right away when I hang up the call, it sets in like, oh my God, am I going to be portrayed as the names you don't want to like say on here? Like, was I mean? Right. And then I go, wait, would a guy think they're mean? Like, and so then I found myself like literally reaching out to either co-founders or the men on the calls, like, um, uh, I didn't mean to be harsh. It's just I very strongly believe this. And they always say like, I never would have even thought like that was
Mm.
harsh. Like, no, we were just having an amazing meeting. And it happened like 2, 3 times where I caught myself. And so my question would be like, do you think reaching out is a sign of weakness, or is it like kind of finding that balance? Like I'm just curious what you would say, like if I was your client, what would you say to me?
Well, if you were my client, I would first go back and say, what past belief am I reenacting? Do I believe that women aren't supposed to have a voice and therefore I feel guilty? So I feel like I'm betraying my past
Mm-hmm.
in order to be my who
Mm.
I truly am. This is the
Interesting.
struggle most people have. And this is why, you said you want to talk about entrepreneurship and my grandmother's working and all that,
Yeah.
right? And it's for some reason, women today I'm watching are in business and they feel like they're betraying something, a tradition, a code, an unwritten code. And either we can flip the script or we can own it. So
Mm.
flipping the script is really recognizing, and my theory is, look, my grandmothers both owned businesses. If you
Yeah.
walk down 13th Avenue, there's plenty of businesses that have female names on them, and in
Yeah.
Williamsburg too, right? And
Yeah.
so, where did we lose the memory that women were in business? Why are women
Right.
constantly excusing themselves for being in business and working? And I think the answer is that in those times, in the 1950s, 60s, 70s, women worked out of necessity. You needed two salaries in order to make things work. There was a lot. We can analyze that time period for all we want.
Yeah.
And then, if you even look in history, then the housewife became glorified. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
1970s, 80s. I Love Lucy,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
era.
Right.
And it was like, and there was a big period of like the crazy housewife and the lunatic and the one spending money and lunching and smoking. And women were taking speed to become very skinny. It was a whole era, and I don't know how much it infiltrated our community, but everything trickles in.
Right.
And then came the feminist movement. And what happened is women woke up and say, I want to work from a place of fulfillment, not from a place of necessity. Now, if you add on Jewish guilt and motherhood and being
Yeah.
Yiddish mama, it comes
Yeah.
back to the theme of I'm having a hard time holding both at once. So it's cognitive dissonance, right?
Right.
I'm supposed to
Yeah.
redefine the Jewish mother by somewhere along the line, somehow the definition of a Jewish mother became, am I home for my kids every day off the bus? The measurements became, am I home for my kids off the bus? Am I serving fresh meals every day? It was like, I don't know who made these rules. I need that person to call me, please. And so now, if those are the rules and I'm going against it, I'm being disloyal to my
Yeah.
community, to my past. It's called the disloyalty bind. And I can't be loyal to
Wow.
myself because I'm being loyal to them.
Right.
And so we have two choices. We can either rectify by saying, wait, who made these definitions? I get to make my definitions. And that's why I'm writing one book. Now, this is hello me, chaos, writing 3 books at a time. Like, that's
I
me.
love it.
And I can either shame myself for it, or I could be like, this life is just so much fun.
Yeah. No, I love it.
If I would have never published a book before, then I would just look at myself and say, you're a fraud. But because I know that I've done it before and I can do it
Right.
again,
Yes.
able to honor that part of me and
Yeah.
just say, like, guess what? Like, I am so big. I have so much thoughts, so many ideas. I get to write
Yeah.
2 books at once. I get to bounce back. It keeps me entertained.
I love it.
I was only diagnosed with ADHD like in the last few years. And it's like, this is it, right? This is my brilliance. So why am I saying that? Because in my book, I'm calling out the definitions that we have about Jewish mother and going through our matriarchs and saying, okay, how did this happen? What was the evolution? And so somewhere along the line, we defined that a good Jewish mother is the mother that's home every day for the buses, taking kids off the bus, serving supper. There's a very rigid definition. And we can either change that definition, and we can say, I have no idea. I think that definition has nothing to do with the Yiddishkeit. I think it was created in 1970s, 80s, 90s, in that time period where the housewife was glorified. Or we have the choice of being okay with being different and saying and owning accountability. Come back to accountability. Owning, this is a choice I made. This is what I want. I believe it's best for me, best for my kids. Everybody's going to be okay. And so little ways that I flip the script on it is when I talk to women, I tell them, can you please admit that your kids are perfectly fine with noodle soups? Like when I sit with a bunch of women, I ask them why they're working. And when they say I do it for my kids, I'm like, your kid is fine with H&M. They don't need
they don't know.
the latest Jewish brands. Just say you want it. Own it. Women have gotten a pass for not owning their needs because we've been shamed for having needs. So the revolution that I'm hoping is happening is that women could wear their needs with pride and not in a offensive, standoffish way, but in a humble, royal, classy, queen energy.
Queen energy. I love it.
Yeah. So it's like challenging the message you're giving in order to hide under your true needs.
I find myself somewhere like I resent the narrative that is in my head. So for a long time, I think ever since I'm little, I was like, I don't ever want to get married. I don't want to have kids because, and I'm only realizing this now. I'm like, I don't want it to ever become an issue where I feel like it's getting in my way of a career, right? And so like zero balance and integration there. I went to like to the extreme, but then I find myself, I don't have kids and I still find myself hearing the narrative like, oh, you're rejecting tradition, you're rejecting the norm, and it's nobody's telling me this. Nobody's looking at me from like my family or, the community and being like, when are you going to have kids? It's not even outside. It's fully in me. And then I'm like, why are you having these feelings? And this is where like me going to a male colleague and being like, I'm sorry if I was harsh, and then I beat myself up for saying I'm sorry I was harsh. Like, why can't I just, I'm like very, I have these like two very different narratives in my head. Like I reject, then I feel bad. I reject, then I feel bad.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, yeah. You're beating yourself up for beating
Yes,
yourself up. It's
exactly.
funny.
Yeah.
I thought that I only have these two big gap worlds, but I think what I'm recognizing is that the creative people of the world have that.
Yeah.
And
Thinkers, right?
thinkers, but it's thinkers and feelers at the same time.
Yes, yeah.
We're not just thinking, we're not
Right.
just feeling.
Right.
That's why we're creating. Because people that only think are stuck in one place.
Right.
People that only feel
Yeah.
are stuck in another place. What I'm hoping to show you is that, and it's funny because like I was just thinking about this. This is to the person that is stuck in a business working for somebody. They can't afford to lose their job.
Mm-hmm.
The business, like the opportunities right now are not in favor of people looking. There's more people looking for jobs than more jobs that are available.
Right.
So I can't stand up to my boss and say, you are a whatever, and you dare talk to me that way because you're being fired. So how does somebody like that empower themselves?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is with small increments of empowerment. And what I'm saying is that when we have to rethink the life we want to create, it's tiny increments. And I'm going to explain this to you with an example of my kids. And I'm hoping that this will inspire you. So somehow there's this sentiment where women feel that their level of motherhood is based on how many times did I leave my kids? Did I go on vacation, overnights, Shabbos, Shefer, brachas, whatever. And we make it something that there's a magic number. I still want to know what that number is. And if we go over that number, you're a bad mother. You're neglecting and abandoning. So if the number is 7, 8, you're neglectful. 6, you're fine.
Oh my gosh.
Am I right?
Yeah, you're right. But it's crazy when you say it out loud. It's like, are you kidding? Yeah.
Right. So my kids, I raised them. And this comes from like my father. And he didn't mean it in like even a meaningful way. He used to always say that a ticket for one is a vacation for two. So if mommy goes on vacation, Tati also has a vacation. And I think he meant it in a bad way, but I spinned it.
Okay.
And I taught my kids that we could be home for 52 Shabbos in the year. But when I go away and you get to go to the sister's house, the neighbor's house, you get to have a different experience. Right. How much fun is that? It's an adventure. It's a bucket list. It's called what I call is a one-time opportunity. I taught my kids this concept of one-time opportunity. So if you get to watch Tovito every Sunday, and then one Sunday our grandfather comes to visit, and he is older. He's a grandfather. He's not going to live forever. And you get an opportunity to sit and spend time with him. Which one are you going to choose? Tovito that you can have every Sunday, or your grandfather? And the idea is to create that, to help your kids understand that we're choosing one-time opportunities. Now, my kids I didn't have to go radical extremes. I didn't have to pull them out from yeshivas and send them to places where I'm like at the extreme. I'm able to create tiny differences within the system. And this brings me to like, many people blame the system. But when we realize that the system is comprised of like a million different pieces of each and every one of us, and if we all move 1%, then the system moves 1%.
Wow. That's the math.
Yeah.
That's so smart. Can I just ask you, like, the way you're raising your kids, is it, and again, I'm not a mother, is it like in spite of how you grew up, or like, are you emulating, like, which one? I feel like sometimes, your parents raise you a certain way and you're like, I'm never going to do what they did. And then other times you're like, oh, I love how I was raised. I want to keep this way of parenting. Like, I'm just curious what it was for you.
The thing about motherhood is that you only figure it out after you're done. So it's a constant exploration. But what I will tell you is that codependency is rigid thinking. It's black and white thinking. So thinking I'm raising exact the opposite of my parents is just, I had one of my coaches say, actually the founder of CODA, the 12-step program, Ken Richardson, he said 180 degrees of unhealthy is still unhealthy.
Right.
And that's when the abuser, the victim, and the victimizer are two sides of the same coin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and I find, and it's funny because I guess the book we're landing on is the one where I'm calling it Becoming Esther, is women get stuck in throwing out baby with the bathwater instead of using discernment again, that bina, that intuition. So
Mm-hmm.
I pick and choose. So, for example, my father made that comment was probably from a bad place, but I'm choosing to put a good
To
spin
flip
on
it.
it.
Yeah.
So, raising my kids with that discernment, and I think I'm looking for a poem that I didn't write, but it's about mothers, and I can't seem to find it. And it's basically our mothers.
You can send it after and I'll put it in.
Yeah, I'll have to send it. But
Okay.
it's our mothers. Like we sometimes despise them and emulate them, and suddenly we realize we are them.
Yes.
And the idea is that we either end up just like them, or the exact opposite side of them.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a
Yeah.
huge chance, if you don't live a very conscious life of constantly checking yourself, that you're going to end up on the opposite side. So if you were raised very neglectful, you might end up being very enmeshing. If you exact
Mm-hmm.
opposites or the exact same. And
Right.
I think that's where we're overcorrecting. I think we're right now, we overcorrected for the last
Yeah.
15 years and now we're balancing each other's out. Like
Mm-hmm.
balance is happening in a lot of ways in the world.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers your
Yeah, no, that
question.
definitely it's like when they say, like usually the people who bully or have been bullied, the people who abuse have been abused, or the opposite, like you're saying. You were talking about codependency, and I want to talk to you a little bit about that, but I think let's maybe start from like the beginning. So it's funny because I usually start my episodes with like, tell me a little bit about yourself as like a little girl, and we started from the other end, which I love. We're doing it differently. So let's go there now. So can you tell me, like, I'm talking to Rachel now. I can see a little bit about you. I've been following you on Instagram. Anyone who checks it out, they can pick up little pieces. But what were you like at, like, let's take 5, 6, 7.
Sure. It's funny because like I am in this space where I'm like going back and thinking, who was I as that little
Mm-hmm.
girl?
Yeah.
And what I'm realizing is that I did not fit in. I was very
Mm-hmm.
quirky, had very curly hair. Like all the pictures of me as a child, my hair is never made. I don't know if, and my mother is the most put together woman. I mean, poor her having to have a kid that the kids here is just a mess every day.
Wow. Yeah.
And
But
it's,
you're 15 out of 16, right?
yeah, but my mother was put together. Her house was
Really?
running perfectly.
Wow.
And I just, like the things, when I look back at my childhood, the things that I did, I took apart computers. I destroyed things. I was just like, but
Yeah.
not in a way, not in a boyish way of destroying, in a way of experimenting
Mm-hmm.
constantly. Somebody was posting on Instagram that their child asked that if they put their headphones in their mouth, could they hear? Could you hear? And I was like, by the way, I tried that as a kid. In
Oh my
science class, when we
gosh.
learned about the five senses, the teacher said that you can bypass the ear by using a
Mm-hmm.
bone for vibration. And I said, actually, if you take an ear pod and you put it on your teeth and you close your mouth so you're creating a vacuum, you're going to hear music. Your whole body is going to vibrate. Who tries that out?
That's crazy. Okay, so you were like, let me understand everything about everything.
Yeah,
Like,
but
no
also
matter
let
what
me
it
like
takes.
experience it.
Yeah, like, what can I make of this? What can I figure out? That's amazing. So you're saying you're different. Is it from your siblings or like peers? Or both?
Peers, not
Peers.
siblings.
Okay.
My sisters have a lot of the same energy as me,
Okay.
and we're a great bunch, and we love each other, and we're best friends. I'm
Oh,
like, I don't have that many friends because I don't have time for more friends. Because like,
yeah.
there's always a party between my sisters. I love them,
How
love
many
them.
sisters do you have?
We're 8 sisters.
Wow. Okay. So I'm guessing like feeling different from your peers didn't, I'm trying to phrase this properly, didn't, like, some people, they feel different and it sits with them forever, and then but it sounds like you had validation from your home, right? It wasn't.
Yes and no. I
Okay.
think so. I didn't fit in school, because I couldn't sit still, and I
Hmm.
wanted. Also with like peer pressure, everybody was wearing the same thing, and I'll never forget in sixth grade, I had a blue shoe that had a yellow sole. And I remember when I went shopping, my mother was like, "You're gonna like everybody's gonna wear something else," and I'm like, "But I want different. Like, why should I?" And I had like a very like interesting sole, and I'm like, "Why should I want to wear what everybody's wearing?" So
Wow.
so it also triggered a certain conflict in my mother of like, I want to fit in, but I don't want to fit in.
Wow. That's amazing that you know how many people have to teach themselves this skill later in life, like to not feel like they always have to fit in. Like that's such a hard thing for people to like be comfortable with. Sometimes it takes people like years into adulthood, and you obviously had that literally since forever. Like you naturally have that.
Yeah, but on the opposite side of the coin, I have to work to be okay with fitting in and show up to shul to the boring conversation.
What
And
scares you about fitting in?
maybe not being seen. Child
Like
number
if you're the
15 or
same of everyone.
16, like if I didn't make noise, maybe if I didn't do trouble, nobody would have recognized. Like maybe people would forget that I
Interesting.
existed
Wow. Okay, I'm glad I asked that question.
on a
Um,
podcast.
no, because I find it so fascinating because like all these dynamics in our childhood like shape who we are, and sometimes we don't know them ever, and sometimes it takes years to figure out. And obviously, I just love understanding people. So you grow up in this huge family. I'm one of five, so like 16 to me is like I can't even imagine. But you did grow up with like a lot of women empowerment and entrepreneurship, right? Like you were mentioning both your grandmothers had businesses.
Again, I
And
wanna correct you here, and I don't think it was empowerment.
okay, perfect. Let's talk about it. Because it was
It was
survival, you're saying.
survival, and there was
Necessity.
also, there's something called doing the genealogram,
Okay.
and that's kind of doing a family tree on emotions and unspoken rules.
Mm.
So you put down your grandmothers, your grandfathers, and you look like at patterns. And so there's this pattern of women wanting to speak up, but having that fight of it feels so wrong.
Yeah.
That is it, right? Having all this creativity, being able to be celebrated for being creative, but not for having an oppositional voice. I still grew up in a very orthodox, from
Right.
Hasidic environment.
So can I ask you, like, when growing up, your grandmother's having businesses, like, how was it portrayed? Was it just like very normal to you?
I chose to rewrite it as empowerment.
Okay. Like you made a conscious decision.
Yeah, I emulated that part of it, and
Yeah.
I think it was valued a lot in my family, but it was also, again, it was that fight of like,
Yeah.
can I value it or not? When you tell people in Williamsburg who my grandmother is, you're going to get two different types of answers.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's like either wow or like, oh, you know?
Okay.
And it all has to do with everybody watches a different channel and lives through life through that channel. Are you watching like SpongeBob or something very sad, right? And
Yeah.
that's how you're going to see life.
Yeah. This is interesting because I was going to ask you about the fact, like, I heard you say that obviously you went to college, but that your mother or parents were not happy about it, right?
They resisted but didn't fully. I figured out a way of doing, it wasn't called virtual in those days. It was called long distance.
That's so funny.
It was
Okay.
called long distance college, and you had to read books on your own, keep your own deadlines, and then at the end of the semester, just submit work.
Wow.
With
I
like
didn't know they had that.
no communication, no online classes, there was no Zoom. It was very
So
much
you're
on your own.
completely disconnected.
Yeah. You
Did
didn't
you
know,
like
you
it?
didn't have classmates.
Wow. Did you like
No,
it?
I didn't. I
Okay.
muscled through it for a while, and then I dropped out when I got married, and then I tried going to a local college, and then I dropped out, and I learned a ton, and maybe one day I'll go back, maybe I won't, most
Yeah.
probably not.
Yeah. That's so interesting.
It's the
Interest.
same idea of, and I value that experience. I don't think my parents were wrong. It's how do we create room and opportunities within our values? And this is coming back to that, throwing out the baby with the bathwater,
Yeah.
or with women being very agreeable and sameness and not celebrating differences. People think that we have to go to all or nothing. And the answer is no. It's giving proper choices to our kids also. We can't say, do you want to go to sleep or do you not want to go to sleep? It's, do you want to go to sleep hopping up to your room or walking up to your room?
Oh. Reframing it. That's so interesting.
With two equally okay choices. You have to be okay with both. And this I use in business all the time with
Mm-hmm.
visionaries. Do you want to have the meeting now or later? Do you want to not fire this person now and then
Right.
suffer through? Do you want to suffer for 3 hours, 30 days, or 3 years? You choose.
Because it's going to happen either way.
Most probably.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I love all your wisdom. I'm obsessed with it because
Thank
it's so
you.
it's so it's so relevant. Obviously, like hearing it from as an outsider, listening to other podcasts, watching it, it's like I can see how this applies. But then we're having a conversation. I'm like, oh, everything she's saying here, I can somehow take in my own life. But I was interested in the fact that you were interested in business behavioral science, and you were saying something about like you were interested in, and I'm not going to quote you because I can't remember exactly what, but the therapy of business, not the therapy of relation or people, right?
Yeah.
How
So,
did you realize that?
okay. So, first of all, I grew up in a business.
Right.
I also have a few siblings. You see, it wasn't something new to go to college. I have sisters that have gone to college. One got a degree in therapy. The other one also some kind of social degree.
Mm.
They're not practicing at the moment, but it wasn't foreign.
Okay.
It was foreign in the community, not foreign in my family.
Okay.
And I remember thinking, like, I don't want to deal with people's personal problems. But then growing up in my parents' business and what I was fascinated with business. I was fascinated with I I feel like I'm like this first generation of the internet. So I was like
Mm.
15, 16 when I discovered the internet. I created a website for my parents, kind of pushed it. I was like, can we sell on Amazon? All those
Wow.
things. I read Google ads for dummies at like 16, 17.
That's so cool.
So I was very fascinated with business. I think
Mm-hmm.
I love business. I grew up in it. I emulated it.
Mm.
So I was like, how do I? And I remember Googling until I got the exact words that I want to be an industrial organizational psychologist.
Wow.
Never happened. I don't have that degree,
Yeah.
but I did do a lot of work in business
That's
behavioral science.
amazing.
There's even a science on how desks are laid out,
Yeah.
what's the environment it causes, how do people respond, all that.
Yeah. Wow, it's so fascinating that like at that age you already knew that. So, okay. Let's like fast forward a little bit. You get married, right? What at that point do you envision for your life?
I envisioned. I also really had a hard time with like having kids thing.
Mm-hmm.
I
Really?
understood the weight
Okay.
of the responsibility.
Yeah. Oh, I
I
feel so
also
validated.
I also had this weird thing in my head. I remember as a child being like, I think one of the teachers like kind of scared me about the world is going to end, and I thought about the responsibility I carry creating generations that those generations will have to go through whatever we say is going to happen when the world ends.
Mm-hmm.
And it just felt like too much.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
That's
and
a lot for like a young
right?
woman.
And I think
Yeah.
it's like those teachers don't realize when they say what they say, how it lands with the people that actually think and hear.
Exactly. That's what I was gonna say. I don't think they think that girls that age are actually thinking about this stuff, you know? But
Right.
it can be dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did want to go back to college. I wanted to be in business. And then my husband is super successful, super charismatic. And we just had a very honest conversation where he was like, look, I'm willing to take care of you forever and ever. Like, you don't have to prove yourself. You don't have to keep doing this. You do what you want, like whatever makes you feel good. But don't believe that you're being the breadwinner.
Mm.
And we kind of sat down, and this is where like I always come down to math. We sat down, we realized that with his experience where he was way ahead in the game. He had a job, he had a ton of industry experience. For me to go and start fresh and him to be the second in command, him to be home and take care and be more available, and me to work on a career is going to be a disservice to both of us.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So then what happened?
So then I tried doing kids and career for a while. Then I relocated, and then I fell off the planet for a little bit with my kids around COVID time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just felt like a part of my brain went dead,
Mm-hmm.
and I needed more stimulation.
Yeah.
And then this opportunity came up to be an EOS implementer, which is a business behavioral scientist without the whole degree.
Yeah.
And it taught me so much. And then as I was working with all these business owners and teams, I started recognizing these patterns of codependency and enmeshment in the second in command. And I was like, there are so many EOS implementers out there. They're all doing a great job. But there's this one gap that I don't feel is being filled. And I feel like it felt like I can do such a good job creating a model and filling the gap. So I decided to leave EOS because I actually believe in what they teach. EOS believes find your mission and stick to it. Don't try to do 15 things at once. And that's why writing a
Right.
few books for me feels like, but all the books share a common theme so that
Right.
makes
Right.
me feel better about
Yeah.
myself. It like
There
falls
you go.
into my mission
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
statement. So I decided to leave December 2024 EOS and to solely focus on coaching second in commands.
Yeah.
It was after I wrote my book. I recorded my workshop because I realized that coaching isn't very affordable for everybody, and also that people don't necessarily need coaching, and that
Mhm.
my value, like my core value, is healing, not handholding, creating a
Oh, wow.
repeatable system.
I
So
love that.
I feel like I really created something that's that's a contribution to the world.
It's amazing because I think last time we spoke, you were still doing EOS, and I think it's so cool to see your evolution. And a lot of our previous conversation was how you help second in commands, but I want to like flip the script right now because your Instagram bio says, I was the second in command to everyone in my life. Now I'm the CEO of my own life. And first of all, I love that. So well stated. But can you share like how that switch happened for you?
So I only recently switched my bio
Okay.
because actually Leia, she was on your podcast, um,
Leia.
Leia,
Oh, Hanalea. Yeah. Bless me.
and she was talking about how she grew her Instagram, and I was like, and it gave me that moment of like, I need to kind of broaden, like, be more authentic, more vulnerable, but also broaden my client base. I niched down very much in order to
Mm-hmm.
create this business,
Right.
but from a purpose standpoint,
Yeah.
I wanted to broaden back out a little bit.
Yeah.
And Gino Wickman, the founder of EOS, told me one day, and he said, everybody has a story of what happened to them when they were 7. And
Mm-hmm.
that is what fuels their business.
Yeah.
And so first you create a business out of pain. And then when you create out of purpose, that's when you're successful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the pain is I was a codependent growing up in a big, family, being raised in a community where women are told to not have a voice, not have an opinion, not be disagreeable,
Yeah.
not be seen. All the covert messages that maybe nobody told me outright.
Yeah.
Um, Growing up with a decent amount of like life happenings, and then finding myself in a codependent relationship with addiction, and then constantly, I'm still doing the work. I'm still
Mm-hmm.
uncovering so many layers of codependency,
Yeah.
and it's never
Never. Right.
done.
Yeah.
But I'm also very grateful that I have real clarity around my mission in life. I don't think everybody gets to have that.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, first of all, I want to say to everyone, go listen to the other podcast. I'm going to link it because there's so much like value in the conversations you have. A lot of it is codependency. You have a podcast about basically financial independence, which is another form of codependency, right? Just finance based. You have the EOS focus, and obviously I can't cover everything with you today. So I'm just going to put that link it because I think it's valuable for people to listen. But I want to ask you for to end off, like advice. Someone is in that spot where you were. They're a second in command. They're codependent on the people around them. They have no financial independence. They have no independence, and they don't even know where to start because they don't know what they want. Like, what advice would you give to them? Like, what's the starting point to like open the door for all that work?
Sure, and I think it comes back to something that we started talking about, and those are the one degree differences
Increments.
in empowerment.
Mm-hmm.
But it also comes back to Dan Sullivan, the creator of Strategic Coach, talks about people are like, oh, you had the confidence to publish a book. And there's a false belief
Mm-hmm.
of believing that confidence, you just wake up one day and there's confidence.
Yeah.
And really, it goes through something called the 4 C's. So the first thing is commitment. You wake up and you say, this is the life I want to have. Like you're committed to the
Mm.
vision. You write down the vision, you're committed to it. I want to write a book. I want to be the empowered woman. Look, I'm recognizing I did that podcast of women in finances, and I got to talk to more women. Women choose not to be financially dependent. It works for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, women choose not to drive, and I thought like every woman should drive.
Right.
And then I realized that there are women that tell me they don't want to drive because if they
Yeah.
drive, they're responsible to take the kids to carpool. And I was like, good for you, right?
I love that. I never even thought of that. Okay.
Yeah. And I was like,
Yeah.
that's your soul.
Yeah,
My
yeah.
soul needs
Right.
independence.
Yeah. It's hard, I think, when you start working on yourself and like realizing I could do this, I should be able to do this, then it's hard for you to think why not everyone wants it too, right? Like we get so almost like tunnel vision in what does independence mean to me that I can't understand why you don't want the same type of independence, right?
Yeah.
It's hard.
And you're so right. And it's part of like the journey. And it's also
Mm-hmm.
interesting because when I talk to visionaries, business owners, I show them how they have tunnel vision about the goals for their business. And their second in command has different needs and just being human. And they can't see it because they're so hyper focused
Yeah.
on there.
Yeah.
And I always give them this idea of like when a visionary feels like red wine is the best thing that ever was created, they want everybody to drink the red wine. Do you know those
Yeah.
people?
Yeah.
You should try this. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
snack I bought. You should try it. And they don't give up and they send you the links
Yeah.
and they just, you need to try the version and the brand that they have.
Yeah.
Okay, but what if I have a different taste? What if I
Yeah.
have different preferences? So there was a growth, I think, from that podcast to now, which is, I wouldn't say it so firmly. I
Mm-hmm.
would say there is the system works for 90% of the people. And then there's 10% that have a need, like I was. Like, I don't think the system's a
Yeah.
bad person. I was just the kid that didn't fit in. I
Yeah.
can't, I don't
Yeah.
know what happened to
It
me
is what it is.
on a, I think it's epigenetics,
Yeah. Yeah.
And so for that kind of person, they need
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So the number one is the commitment. Number two is the courage. So what happens is I committed to writing a book about 2 weeks ago. I wrote chapter 1 and now I woke up and I was like, I should write chapter 2, but I lost excitement because I'm like a
Mm-hmm.
total visionary. I like to start things. I don't like to finish things.
Got it.
So there is the courage to go back to the commitment, even
Mm-hmm.
when it gets boring, even when it
Wow.
gets hard.
Yeah.
And then comes capability. So
Mhm.
do I believe I'm capable? Do I have the skills? And then, yeah, I believe I'm capable to write a book. I have the skills. And then we do it. And then
Yeah.
it creates confidence.
Mm.
So I already wrote one book. Now I have confidence I can write a second and a
Right.
third one.
Wow. So cool. I love how you broke it down. So you're saying, and I love how it ties back to the very beginning of a conversation, is I'm a very all or nothing type of person and I'm working on it. I'm very aware of it. Like I like doing things as soon as I think about them. I'm not always smart. Um, it's just like I've always had that. I also like the excitement. I actually happen to have a little bit more like um I'm more operational than visionary, I think. I'm learning, but I like to get stuff done. I love a schedule. I love checking things off. So to me, sometimes I have a hard time with the little increments that you're talking about. It's boring to me. I get bored so fast. Like a diary, like every day I have to write something. I can't. Like I just want to see the end of it. But I think and of course, as I'm getting older, I'm noticing, the beauty in it. And like as days and weeks go by and you look back and you're like, oh my gosh, every single tiny little seed that I planted took me to where I am. But, for people like me, it's very, very hard, but I think it's the most important for people like me.
Yeah, and I can relate a lot to that. I don't like boring. I don't like
Yeah.
consistency. And I had a hard time with, people say, you should journal every day. You should breath work every day. And
Oh my
if I did
gosh,
it
yes.
Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday I failed, then I threw it out the window because I'm a failure.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do it
Yes.
3 days in a row. And that is again an opportunity to rewrite the rules. Who said
Oh.
that consistency is everything
Mm.
every single day? Maybe consistency is that I remind myself more often now than I did a month ago.
Oh my
And
gosh,
that
I love
I
this.
keep doing that. Like I did a post about morning routines.
Mm-hmm.
People have created so much rigidity around morning routines. Who says it even serves you? Maybe one day you need breathwork. Maybe one day you need journaling. What if we looked at morning routines for people like me and you? I mean, for the people that need the rigidness, please have it. Again, this is
Yeah.
being able to value that not everybody's needs is the same. For me, I wrote down a menu. I could choose one of these 5
Mm.
things
So
to do in the
smart.
morning. Either affirmations, either music, either breathwork, or journaling. And maybe once I'll do two, and maybe once I'll do nothing because my kids woke up late and I need to run out the door, and I'll forgive myself for that.
This is so, I feel like you're speaking literally to me because I'm almost too rigid to have a routine, right? Because I beat myself up when I mess. Like I started stretching every day. I missed stretching yesterday. I'm like, okay, I'm done. Like this my routine is now done. And I can't. I freak out at myself. I'm like, you why are you like this? So I feel like this. Oh my gosh, I love this advice. I'm gonna replay this clip to myself like every morning.
Sure.
That's my new routine.
Yeah, I want to put the bow on it. The bow on it
Yeah.
is that I had this aha moment that healing is
Mm-hmm.
not, I'm never doing that again.
Mm-hmm.
I think people think, oh, I'm going to heal, I'm going to change. And everybody's doing healing right now, and I love it. And it
Yeah.
has the ups and downs, so we can talk about that. And it's, again, overcorrection.
Yeah.
To recognize that we all live in cycles. There's 4 seasons. We always come back to the same season. Humans are predictable and cyclical.
Yeah.
A woman's body is cyclical.
Yeah.
And so recognizing the cycle, number one, recognize the pattern. It was so funny to wake up and say, oh my goodness, it's end of August. Last year, exactly this time is when I decided to write my first book. What is it with me that I am in this August cycle? And it's so
Yeah.
like, I can't even make it up. Like the cycle's right there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Step number 2 is how quickly can you pivot or rebound?
Mm-hmm.
So instead of, oh my gosh, I missed a day, I'm a failure, how quickly can I get back onto the train
Right.
instead of being a failure for 3 days or never
Right.
or a month?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And that's the part where it's also very important in business, like being able to pivot really, really fast, especially in startups. And sometimes it's easier when it's in business than in your personal life, you know?
Right. When
It's,
people
yeah.
look at like Elon Musk, love him or hate him, he has
Mm-hmm.
success. If you read the documentary about him,
Mm-hmm.
the author writes how while a shuttle was blowing up mid-air, Elon was clapping, and everybody's like, why are you clapping? He's like, oh, because we're going to do it next time better, bigger, better,
Wow.
faster.
Yeah.
He failed so fast. He believes in failing
Yeah.
super fast.
Fast. Yeah.
He doesn't take it seriously. He doesn't get down on himself, doesn't
Right.
sit in the mud.
Yeah.
That determines how quickly companies grow.
Yeah.
And I love this new thing that I'm telling everybody is take a page out of their book. So if you're struggling with codependency, look at the narcissist and say, what do I want more from it? Tear a page out of their book. And maybe I want more self-entitlement, more self-belief, that tunnel vision is low empathy. When we are stuck in, I didn't have empathy to the women that don't want to drive when I said everybody should drive. So that's tunnel
I love how
vision.
you're reframing it. Yeah. By the way, I want to make a note here for you. In the episode about the financial independence, you did say not every single woman wants this. I'm just letting you know. You
Okay.
did say that.
In case
Because I remember,
anybody, in case anybody
yes.
heard it differently.
So I think you should be a little bit like not as hard on yourself because you did make that statement
I
very
appreciate that.
clear.
I tend to be
Yeah, yeah,
very
yeah.
hard on myself.
Yeah, well, I
And
understand that.
and then the opposite of that, so the person that is very entitled needs empathy, and the person that is very codependent needs a little bit more entitlement.
Hmm.
They need
Yeah,
to allow themselves to make mistakes more. When we're stuck in black and white thinking and rigidness and enmeshment and codependency, the people that I coach, the second in command, they are frozen because they're so afraid of failing.
right.
So you got to tear a page out of the other person's book.
Yeah, in a way, it goes back to framing it differently than your other example, but it's like, again, making your own rules. You're borrowing here. I think that's the title of this episode, like making your own rules.
Yeah,
You're
I
like
love
taking
that.
this from this, yeah, and creating your own, like, what do you want it to look like? I
Right.
love that.
Yeah.
It's the theme throughout. So I honestly can talk to you forever. But we have to end, but I want to ask you the question that I ask all my guests, which is what being a trailblazer means to you.
I think to me, being a trailblazer is exactly that. When I became an EOS implementer, a
Mm-hmm.
guy came up to me and he said, and I gave this spin of codependency, and I also, I'm so cruel, but when teams, I'll tell you why, because when teams sat around my table and there was a male entrepreneur and I did EOS, I looked at them and I said, I just want you to know why I'm here. My husband makes enough money for both of us. I don't
Mm-hmm.
need to be here. I'm not here for you. I'm here for your wife.
Oh, wow. Mic drop.
Yeah.
What was his reaction?
I've done this to all my clients.
Oh my gosh. I
If
love
if it's
that.
a male entrepreneur,
Yeah.
this is how I open.
Wow. Yeah.
And sometimes they're confused. Sometimes I have one of my clients that ended up going to rehab for addiction.
Wow. Wow. Okay, you're really making beyond like business, you're making impact because
Yeah, it was
it
never about business.
yeah,
It's how
yeah,
do we get people to do therapy in business?
yeah.
That's what
Which
my
bleeds
model
into
is.
personal life. Yeah.
Right. I think it feels less threatening to do the work in a business environment versus
Right.
a therapeutic environment.
Yeah.
So I trick people. And so my coaching is really everything that they don't want to do in business. I have
Yeah.
one client right now that says that she was in therapy for 4 years and she quit therapy because of my coaching. Now, I don't recommend
Wow.
people quit therapy.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
I
you
have a
said.
therapist I think is great. But the one thing she said is like, you were so firm and assertive about the boundaries that I need to have. And I feel like that's what I didn't get in therapy.
Wow. Wow.
So the reason
So
I'm
cool.
saying that is that those guys, why am I doing it for their wives? Because when they are going to be healthier and have better run businesses, they're going to be more attentive
Mm-hmm.
to their spouses. They're going to be more present. They're going to make more money. Everything. It's all
Everything.
for their
Yeah.
family. Getting back to this. So I meet this guy he heard, it was at a conference. He heard my spin on things. I had an opportunity to talk, I guess. And he comes over to me and he says, it says somewhere that you can't be a Navi in your own community. You can't be a truth
Mm-hmm.
teller. You can't in your own community. And I looked at him and I said, maybe yes, maybe no.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe being a trailblazer is not throwing out the baby with the bathwater.
Mm.
People believe they have to leave their community, they have to leave their marriage. Oh my gosh, how many women am I talking to that are, now that I'm talking more, why am I talking more about gaslighting right now?
Mm-hmm.
It's because when you're codependent, you don't believe yourself. You don't have a strong sense of self. So the other person, even if they say something that looks harmless, of like, you're so silly, you're so sensitive,
Yeah.
we choose to swallow that and
Right.
believe it rather than believing ourselves and our own true core self. It's part of what happens in codependency. So, can we be in a marriage that is not ideal, but we can't leave? There's so many women have kids. They don't know how they're going to have a roof over their head if they
Right.
leave. How could you stay?
Yeah.
And the answer is by these little shifts, these 1% shifts. Because what happens is there's something called mirror neurons. When I smile, you smile back.
Literally.
Literally.
Yeah, yeah.
So people react differently. And when we shift, they have to shift. It just creates a gap. Nature abhors a vacuum.
Mm.
So it has to get filled. So I think it's all on us, the women, that if we shift,
It
people
shifts.
respond. Yeah.
Yeah.
So being
Wow.
a trailblazer is, how can I create 1% change one day at a time in my community, not having to change my values, who I am, but how I show up differently?
Yeah. Wow. I love it. Rachel, thank you so much. I don't want to press stop. I really enjoyed this conversation. And obviously, this is going to be helpful for so many people, but I feel like I could just keep this to myself and like gatekeep this information a little bit because it's so relevant to my own life. So thank you so much. I
You're so
really
sweet,
appreciate
and it's
it.
always great to speak with you.